Absolutely gorgeous is the way to put that 4-1 win. I've slept on it. I've enjoyed it. Honestly, being at that ground yesterday was absolutely fantastic. The atmosphere was unbelievable, and credit to us. I think there's a lot of people in the media talking about, will West Ham fans make it difficult for this team to perform? It's quite difficult to not get behind the team that play in the manner that we did against the tough Leicester side, at least on paper. Now, I missed the first 10 minutes. I was trying to get in the ground. We all know the problems with the digital tickets, and that was really frustrating. But very encouraged from the minute stepping in and obviously watching it with my cup of tea. We were in control even before the sending off. Let's be clear here. I think West Ham were dealing with the game in a mature fashion. I thought we were pressing at times. We were stopping Leicester, getting in behind and causing our centre backs issues. I thought Dawson and Ogbonna generally throughout the game, they dealt with the runners off them fairly well, particularly Angelo Ogbonna, And again, I've said this before in previews, they're not the most athletic, they're not the quickest players, but again, their intelligence, in particular Angelo, to read situations just makes it a lot more easier for us. And the first goal transpires from typically our attacking midfielders, from Pablo Fornals, who again, I spoke about it before the season started, him sort of starting to chip in with goals and assists, and the movement between him and Ben Rama, and the fact that Ben Rama's on the left and Fornals is in the middle. I think that's what makes West Ham very difficult to deal with at times. And I think yesterday really, it kind of showcased that to the public. There's a lot of fans, that have been speaking to me since that game, talking about Benny and talking about other players like that. And the way that we played out of possession, in possession, the goal itself, the different types of goals that we scored, again, really exemplified that. It's a gorgeous finish from Pablo Fornals. It really, really is. He takes it first time. And he did it a fair few times last season, running into the box of Leighton. And sometimes it worked. I believe he did it against Wolves. And again, it's a very, very similar type of situation, but it does make it difficult for Leicester to deal with overloads. And in particular, when you bypass their midfield. And I thought, the battle was really going to be between Tielemans, and I know he got his goal, and Ndidi, but just thought West Ham controlled the game from a lot of different aspects. Now, the sending off, I've got to be honest, in the ground, I really didn't know what was going on. And obviously, he goes over to VAR, and I think a lot of people thought, hang on a minute, this is serious. And I've heard people talk about it's not intentional. It isn't, but it's incredibly dangerous play. You cannot put your foot that high on his ankle. He could have broken Pablo's ankle there, and he could have been out for a year. It's reckless in that sense. So I think the sending off is fair. And I think really from that point on, I thought West Ham managed the game well. I think that's also an important thing to remember here. I think West Ham, our game management is improving. Probably did it for the last 10 minutes against Newcastle last week. And again, goals transpired from that. And it was really, really similar this week when Tielemans got his goal. Second goal comes from pressing. I thought West Ham pressing off the ball, Bowen in particular. And again, that is a benefit of being at the games, the things that you're seeing off the ball, or at least collectively. Pablo, we know that he presses. We see it on television. But when you're there and you see Bowen, and I think just the way that West Ham operate when the press is triggered, and that's what obviously leads to the goal. I've watched it on the replay. It's Soyuncu and it's not Schmeichel that's caused the problem. But the way that West Ham are pressing in that right-hand corner and again triggering the press, and Soufal's getting higher and Bowen's getting higher and Antonio, again, that leads to mistakes. And I think, under this side with David Moyes at times, we've been defensive, and we were like that at the beginning of the last season. We were resolute, we were compact. There are still elements of that. But I think West Ham being multifaceted at times out of possession to go and create chances for ourselves is really important. And obviously Ben Rama gets his goal. Again, say it week in, week out, the movement in the box from the attacking midfielders is exactly how West Ham are going to start to score a lot more goals this season. Ben Rama, right place, right time. Mickey gets a great assist, composed in that sense. And I think there was a few groans when Tielemans got that goal because, when Tielemans scores that, I've looked at it again and I'm really disappointed with Sky actually because I thought I'd see a full rerun of the game and unfortunately I haven't been able to see it in detail. But I think we dealt with it relatively okay. Again, they were always going to try and overload on the left with Jamie Vardy pulling out to that side. Maybe we could have dealt with it collectively better. But I kind of look at it, the breakdown of the situation of it falling to Tielemans and thinking, to be honest, you've made the block there. I think it was Creswell. How much more could West Ham do? Fabianski's even tried to charge him down and make the angle difficult for him to score, and he has. So, again, I'm sure I'll look back at it and maybe be able to pick out the bones of it. And again, there isn't really the context. But, I just felt that West Ham throughout the game were relatively in control. and not too fussed with what Leicester could offer us. Now, the third goal is gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it comes from a spell for West Ham of keeping the ball and keeping possession and getting the fullbacks high. What I love about the third goal as well, we'll talk about the finish from Mickey, is Declan Rice making that move in beyond. I thought Declan Rice yesterday was absolutely tremendous. He's better in person. Now, he presses well off the ball. He reads the game so well. You know, Leicester were lax in possession and they gave West Ham opportunities, but Declan Rice's reading of the situations to set the attacks, how positive he is in terms of making those right passing choices. And that goal, of course, when he's making that overlapping run ahead of Creswell, I think that's what West Ham are adding. And this is what I love about this team so much, is it's so difficult to pin us down. We're not one-dimensional. Some teams out there, and listen, some of them get down to a fine art, are relying on one player, and they play off that and they play off their strengths. West Ham, for me, in terms of the way that we approach and trying to create chances to score goals, offer the overlapping defensive midfielder in Declan Rice. Souček can get in the box. Bowen, Fornals, Antonio all come central. They overload those central areas, and inevitably we'll be able to get something off. Now, Mickey's done unbelievable, and I think he had Sonchu in a quite a fair few amount of issues in that game. He uses his body perfectly. It's a gorgeous finish as well, and I felt that once he got that goal, the pressure was off. He wanted to go and get that goal, obviously, to break the goal scoring record for West Ham. And once he did that, he just unleashed one of the most disgusting, should be illegal touches that I've seen. I've got to be honest. Now, that's what I liked about the game as well. I thought Mickey showed an array of what he's about in terms of bringing others into play, working hard off the ball, positionally, switching it up at times, being a focal point, coming out to the left. Brilliant stuff that we all know he does well. But the touch is just sublime. It's absolutely sublime. And granted, I was in the other end of the ground, so, I mean, I'm looking at it from a fair way. But the minute he made that touch, I thought, gorgeous, as long as he gets the finish here. Because he sold the two defenders. I thought Leicester struggled clearly with 10 men. They couldn't go and press. They had to sit deep, gave West Ham chances. But we waited to cultivate those chances. And even the build-up for that goal from Mickey. Pablo's nutmegged one. Soufal's picked it up, nutmegged another, played it in. And I think Antonio, generally speaking, is an underrated player. I know James Lawrence Alcott this morning's done a video about Mickey and why he's underrated in general. And I think that part showcases it. Yes, of course, technically he's a very odd player to watch. He's sometimes a bit clunky, but he's multifaceted. He's got so many elements to his game that a lot of strikers would love to have. And he's really taken the mantle of this number 9. And the touch for me is even showing awareness in the box. I actually think when you nail it down, Antonio is an instinctive striker within the box. Sometimes, again, if it's flashed across, maybe he can't quite correct himself. If from distance, we know he struggles. But in the box, he can cause a lot of problems. The touch is lovely. The finish is superb as well past Michail. And it capped a really positive evening off for West Ham. I thought it was a very complete performance, even with the 10 men of Leicester. We controlled the game. The defensive midfielders, Declan was superb. Souček as well offered a lot, pressing off the ball. The way that we were switching the play as well to try and break them down, pushing our fullbacks a little bit further up. And I know it's easy to sit there and say, well, they've got 10 men. Of course, naturally, you are going to put men further forward. But just the way that we controlled it in that sense, and we weren't lax and we weren't getting beat so much in transitions from Leicester, and we took the sting out of the game. Perfect. And the atmosphere was it was electric. It was electric in there. And it was lovely to see. And it was lovely to have West Ham fans back in there. We got behind the team. The team showcased all of their qualities. And we're top of the league for now anyway. Irrespective of how you look at it, of course, people will say it's 2 games in, and it is. And I haven't really read too much into it. The thing that impresses me more is the level of performance, particularly in this game, and the number of goals that we're scoring. And you look at Ben Rama making a step up as well, contributing goals where Jesse's not been in the side, adapting, and Moyes talks about him adapting to be a little bit more prolific in that sense. You see that in his overall play. We're a really well-oiled machine, and we do need recruitment, and we do need backup. We need squad depth. I think Zuma's getting relatively close. Again, another element that will add to West Ham. I think for West Ham this season to go and continue to score this amount of goals and get our attacking midfielders and striker into things and take those chances that we're creating, we do need a centre-back that's a little bit more athletic, pacey, aggressive, a threat from set pieces. There are a lot of things that we can use from Zuma that I think will be important. People will talk about positional sense. I think it's an area that I think Moyes probably looks at him as a player. Can I coach him appropriately? Can he work within this West Ham side? And I do feel with Angelo Ogbonna alongside him, that will be a top signing. But we do need other areas, naturally. I think you might be looking at a centre midfielder. Possibly, I would love to have said a striker a couple of months ago. I'm starting to think that it's going to get towards the end of this window and we're not going to get one. Hopefully, we do for a rotation option. But as far as the first 11 is concerned, this team can give anybody a game on its day. That's all we really ask for. So I'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much for joining me on the final word. That is West Ham 4, Leicester 1. You did read it right. You did remember it right. It was absolutely insane. I will be back tomorrow or even the next day for all things West Ham. So we'll discuss the events of the game. We'll talk a little bit about the transfer market. We'll talk about Crystal Palace coming up. There's an opportunity here for West Ham to get 9 points on the board before the international break. Drop a like on the video if you did enjoy this roundup and subscribe to the West Ham Way, the West Ham Way Patreon, and have a look on the West Ham Way website for all things West Ham. With that being said, take care, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Come on, you ones.